It's very easy for us to find ourselves in that space of stuck, but stepping out of stuck is literally just one step. And it can be the very tiniest step that there is. And then all of a sudden, with that step, evolves the next and the next. And you find yourself in a space of momentum. And then there's no stopping with what you can do and create along the way.
Hello and welcome to the Art of Value Whispering podcast. I'm your host, Melitta Campbell, business coach and value whisperer, and I'm excited that we are back after a break over the summer, and we had a little mini episode last week, but we are back with our usual schedule. And I have dubbed September here on the podcast Women Empowering Women Month, because I have had some wonderful conversations with women who are doing just that in different ways. And I've put those interviews together for you in the coming weeks. So today we are kicking off with Michelle Murphy, who empowers women to dream bigger about what their purpose is. And even if it's running something small alongside their regular day, having something that allows them to dream, to grow, to get excited about life again. And like they're having that contribution that makes them feel proud and having more fun as well. I also want to invite you to join the Dream Clients Club if you haven't already. You may remember, if you've been here before, that is my community for female entrepreneurs and service-based business owners. There are some men in there as well. But really, my focus within that community is to help you understand how to start identifying and weaving your value through everything that you do, so you can communicate that with ease and confidence, and people start to recognize you as their obvious choice of service provider, as the go-to person for your expertise in your industry. So you start to attract more of those right fit clients and the right opportunities into your business. Within that community, you can ask questions, you can discuss the themes from this show, for example, but also we have a classroom where you can access free tools and resources and training. And as you participate, you unlock more training to help you grow in your business. And also we have a 4-day challenge. It's live at the moment this week, and the replays are going to be there for the next 2 weeks. So do come and join in that. It's going to help you shift your thinking around how do you create messages that really transmit your value in a way that has impact, but also feels natural and authentic to you. It really starts to align with everything that you're all about. So you attract those right people in and you create a nice journey for them. We also look at how to use storytelling, how to use planning to keep you consistent, but without going crazy. And then from next week, we're starting back with the value sessions. So these are weekly marketing masterclasses. I run them live so you can come and interact and ask questions, but all of those are recorded and they're in the Dream Clients Club as well, in that classroom for you to access at any time. So there is a lot of value already in there. This is what a lot of coaches charge a lot of money to be part of, that kind of membership each month. My community is completely free, and yeah, I hope you'll come and join us. You'll find us if you go to melittacampbell.com/club. That link will redirect you directly to the community. So I look forward to welcoming you into that community, learning more about you and supporting you as you grow your business, your brand, your marketing, and build your confidence around messaging and visibility and sales, of course. But in the meantime, I'm excited to introduce you to Michelle. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Melitta. I'm so happy to be here today.
And I am really happy that you're here because, this time of year, we've had our summer break, we're coming back into our business. We've maybe come up with some new plans over the summer. We're really excited, but then it's not always so easy to get back in the flow as we think. And when we get overwhelmed by everything we need to do, then some of those big dreams and plans and goals can kind of take a backseat already. So I've invited you on the show today because your business is Life on Purpose and you specialize in helping people dream big, really dare to step into that purpose, step into that dream. So I'm going to tap all your best knowledge and advice on how can we do that? How can we dare to dream big? How do we make these goals actually happen? And what we can expect from that whole process. But Before we dive into all of that nice, juicy stuff, I would love it if you could share with the audience how you came to start Life on Purpose in the first place.
Yes. Okay. That's great. And I'm excited to be sharing all of this with you today. So, my journey to Life on Purpose, gosh, it began over 15 years ago. It was when my coaching career began and when my role as a registered nurse started to step away from the bedside and started to step away from academia and rolling into continuous quality improvement. I was coaching people, healthcare professionals, to be creative in terms of change and not just change, but improvements and high impact, high state improvements in healthcare. So being creative, implementing, and then sustaining those improvements as well. And so this took me on a very long journey of, certifications and training and facilitation and coaching and so on and so forth, and culminating with a graduate degree from a prestigious Canadian university in this area. And while my professional career was continuing on and forward, so too was, of course, my personal life. And I found myself closing in on midlife. And I started to lift my head up and look around and realizing that I had this sense of restlessness that was growing inside of me, and that there was something missing and there was something more for me outside. And it's something that now, on reflection, I fondly refer to as my nudge. And I had no idea what the it was for me that I was looking for and searching. And I had an even less of an idea of how to actually find it. And so my search began. I found myself at our local library, and every couple of weeks, I would be taking out stacks of books, 8 to 10 at a time, and I'd be scouring over them. I found myself scouring the internet. I found myself watching DVDs. And yes, I know I'm dating myself saying that I was watching DVDs, but I really was. And I actually employed the help of a coach as well to help me navigate through this time. And I was doing all of this while I was managing and navigating a very busy professional career, as well as maintaining a home and raising three young and very busy children all at the same time. But I felt really passionate and I felt very driven. There was this fire that was inside of me that I knew that I needed to keep looking and navigating and figuring it out, whatever that it was for me. And as I traveled along my journey, the longer I traveled, the more women that I actually found that were in exactly that same place and space as me. They were either searching as I was, or what I also sadly saw was that many people were settling. And I was hearing women say things like, well, I only have 8 years until I retire, and then I'll be able to do what I really want to do with my life. I know. And I would think, oh, 8 years, that seems like an eternity. And so, with my continued searching, I also felt that my frustration was continuing to grow because I kept looking and I couldn't find it. And I was digging and I was hunting and I still wasn't landing at it. And I remember literally like it was yesterday, I was sitting having a conversation with my coach and I was saying, I do not understand this. I'm closing in on my 40s here and I still don't know what that thing is, what it is that I'm looking for, that I'm supposed to be doing as I'm continuing on and moving forward. And there's kids who are literally 3 or 4 years old who know exactly what it is that they're supposed to be doing. When I grow up, I know I want to be a doctor. When I grow up, I want to be a firefighter. When I grow up, I want to be a whatever it is. And with her enlightened wisdom, she said, Michelle, you need to get over that. You need to let it go. It's not you. You need to move on. And it was the proverbial ripping the band-aid off moment. And that moment was a turning point for me. And my journey as I knew it had changed. It was time to step out of my analysis paralysis that I found myself in. And it was time to actually start stepping into action. And so I did. And with my action, my momentum started to grow. And the more that my momentum started to grow, women in my circle around me started to say things like, so when you find out what your it is and what your thing is and what you're supposed to be doing, can you help me figure out what it is that I'm supposed to be doing? And the more women that said that to me, that was my eureka moment. And that was the creation and the evolution of Life on Purpose. And since that time, that is what I'm in service to and created for the women that I do serve. It's helping them step out of settling for a life they're living and creating a life that they truly love. It's helping them when they're staring at that blank page and create that next chapter of their life. It's helping them figure out what their it is. And it's helping them when they know what it is, helping them to move down that path and actually accomplish it. And truly, it's helping them answer their nudge. That's
What,
what life is all about.
yeah, what an incredible story. Thank you. And yeah, I think for women in midlife in particular, you've given so much of ourselves to everything else, to our career, to our studies, to our kids, to our partners, to our family. And a lot of that continues, some of it stops, but then we do get this moment as we're moving sort of late 40s, 50s, where we have that little glimmer of an extra bit of time, a little window where we can actually do something for ourselves. And a lot of the conversations I have with women starting their business, it's that I want to do something for myself now. I want to create success on my terms. I want to prove to myself that I can do something more than what I've been doing in the past. So I love that mission, but so hard to find that on your own. And I remember in my first business, I knew that I needed to do something different. But
Yes.
what I was doing was working. It was more than paying the bills. And so I didn't really dare let myself dream about what else I could do because I was like, well, I'm doing this, it's working. To think of something else and step away from that is really scary. So I didn't. So having a coach, having a community like I know you have for women is really what we need, I think, to move forward. And I used to run women's networks, and I've seen when women get together and support each other, there's like no limit to what we can do and what we can dare. And so, yeah, I love everything about what you've created. And we should say that you are running your business still around
Yes.
your work, right? And your kids and
Yes.
everything else.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so amazing and beautiful to be able to continue down this path and journey through all these different pieces still at the same time. And actually, the majority of the women who are within our Life on Purpose community, they're doing exactly that same thing. They are working in their professional careers and they are creating. Sometimes it's something very, very different from what they are doing in their professional careers. Sometimes it's an offshoot of what they're doing. And that's part of the beauty is uncovering what that is and then following their hearts and their dreams and accomplishing their goals.
Yeah. So have you noticed any common elements in what it takes for us to dare to dream bigger and dare to not just have this dream, but take that first step towards it?
Mhm. So I would say, allowing yourself, just as you were mentioning, to dream again, that is a really big step. And surrounding yourself with people who are in that same place and space and mindset as well is so, so very key. And what I said over and over and over again is it's very easy for us to find ourselves in that space of stuck, but stepping out of stuck is literally just one step. And it can be just the very tiniest step that there is. And then all of a sudden, with that step, evolves the next and the next. And you find yourself in a space of momentum. And then there's no stopping with what you can do and create along the way.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. One of my favorite quotes, and I can't remember who said it, it was an American author, and he was referring to writing a book, I think, but he was saying it's a bit like driving in the dark, in the fog. You can only go as far as your headlights will allow you, but you can make the entire journey that way. And I love that analogy of, yeah, you just need to take that next little step, then the next little step becomes visible. And bit by bit, suddenly you're like, oh, I've done it. I'm here.
Of
We think
course.
it's going to be this big thing, but most breakthroughs and changes aren't one big thing. It's just, as you say, that next little step and seeing where that takes us next.
And then we find ourselves in this space where we're looking back at our journey and thinking, I don't even understand what the big deal was. Look at how easy that was for me along the way. Doesn't feel like it necessarily always when we're moving forward and taking those forward steps, but when we're looking back, we're like, wow, yeah, that and now what's next? So now where to from here? And that's the amazing thing is that once we get to that next piece, there's always an opportunity to be looking forward and ahead. And I refer to it often as following your trail of breadcrumbs, and we just continue with that the next step forward. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I remember a few years ago now, but telling a friend about my big vision of what I want to do with my work, how I want to make a difference in the world, and how I want to show up for women in particular. And then she was like, "But isn't that what you're doing?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." I had this big destination in mind, and I'd completely missed that I was already doing the work, maybe not on the level that I had in my vision, but I was already living into that. So I was living life on purpose, but I'd completely missed that. So I think having that community to reflect back and taking these moments to stop and think, where am I now? How is this working? And that those moments of reflection are really important as well to see that progress because that had completely I'd completely missed that.
Well, in the moments of reflection and then taking the moments to celebrate, because I often think that, we don't spend enough time really celebrating all the different amazing things that are happening and that we're creating and that we're doing, because there are a lot along the way. And when we can get into that space of celebration and get into the space of gratitude and, get into that positive mindset space, then all sorts of different opportunities and doors open up that we honestly didn't even know were there.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Mhm.
So you started life on purpose, but this is the first time you'd really had any business experiences, how you describe it. And I always find that a funny thing to say because everything we do is business, really. Everything's negotiation and marketing and sales on or just on a different level. We don't necessarily label it these things, but I don't think anyone has got zero business experience really. However, starting from scratch, having that background in nursing and coaching and academia, and then bringing life on purpose out into the world, did you find it easy to communicate that value? Was there anything there that you found challenging?
Mm. Well, I like to say that I'm a recovering people pleaser, and I have to actively continue to work and lean into that space of in the recovering part of it. And yeah, when I started down this path and in nursing and in university, there are no business courses. So I felt like everything was very, very new from business setup and from running my business. And what I learned along the way is that there's tons of rules. And of course, there's formal business rules that we, need to be leaning into, legalities and taxes and all those kinds of things that they just are what they are. But then there's all the informal rules that I've continued to learn along the way. And some of those pieces with the marketing and sharing my value and with showing up authentically was really learning of which pieces that I was willing to bring in and which felt like they were resonating with me. So as a really, basic example that I like to talk about is in social media as an example. What does that look like showing up authentically for me? I learned that, with Instagram as one example, there's so many informal rules that we have that you should show up in this way and you need to be sharing this much of your personal life and you need to be doing this and you need to be doing that that, and so on and so on and so on. And when I started my business, I, joined a social media group to learn these different pieces. And I was trying to learn from the experts in the field and follow different people that were interesting and curious for me. And when I started in my business, I didn't even have an Instagram account, as one example. I had never been on Instagram before. And I remember having a conversation with my daughter. She was 16 or 17 years old at the time. And I said, Lauren, I need to set up an Instagram account. And I think there was probably an eye roll that was involved in that in that discussion. And she said, Mom, give me your phone. And within 3 minutes, my Instagram account was set up and she was handing it back to me. And I was saying, so what am I supposed to do with this right now? And it was like, well, Mom, you need to start following people. How do I do that? Well, Mom, you need to, and she was trying to coach me. She was my first social media coach along the way and teaching me about how to do posts and all sorts of different things. But once I was starting to learn from people who were sharing all these informal rules with social media and Instagram, just as that really easy example, what I was bumping up against was my authenticity and what actually felt good for me in that space. And then, yes, there definitely are some pieces that, help get you out there and further on in the Instagram realm. But was it authentic? Were pieces of that journey were things that felt good for me? And if they're not things that were feeling good for me, then why am I doing those things? And I just fundamentally made the decision that I needed to be showing up authentically. That is what makes people connect with me and with all of us as human beings. And I think about it often, Melitta, when you talk about the know, like, and trust factor, that is the part where people get to know you. People start to have trust in you. People like you and want to journey along with you, whatever that looks like for them. And that I wasn't subscribing to the cookie cutter thing, that I needed to do it exactly like this and to get this many followers and to be connected in this way. And that was something that was really, really important to me, and something that I need to work on regularly to continue to show up in that authentic way, not just in social media, but across in all realms of everything that I'm doing. So it's really, understanding and having a swath of what things look like out there in those realms, but then integrating me and my personality and my essence into my life on purpose community and the people that I'm wanting to serve.
I love that you from day one rebelled against this. Oh, I should be doing this. And we see it a lot. People going quite insane, trying to do everything all the experts say. And, there are varying degrees of experts. I love that you've kind of taken their ideas and put that through the filter of what feels good to you, what feels like the way you want to be showing up for your audience, that relationship you want to be building. And that's value whispering, right? Understanding where you can have the biggest impact for other people, where you can be of service and value, and who those people are. And then using that as a filter to decide what you do and don't do, and to guide your marketing going forward. And as you say, it's always, even for myself as well, it's kind of like, oh, they're doing this, I should be doing that. It's like, no. But it's not so easy to stay on track when there's all this temptation and great advice. But if it doesn't feel right, and I love that you said that, that's the key, isn't it? If you don't feel it, if it doesn't feel like you, then take a step backwards and pause a moment and just think, is this really what I should be doing? Is this really going to resonate with the right people? Because if you're being yourself, then you're going to attract the right people and opportunities to you. If you're trying to be fake and like anyone else, then you're going to attract the wrong people because they're attracted to something that isn't you. And particularly when, like yourself, you're a coach working very closely with your customers, you need to start that close relationship from the beginning. So yeah, congratulations on that.
Well, and I think ultimately, we are in service to people in different ways, whether we have a product or whether we're providing a service. But ultimately, our goals are also there to serve us. And if things aren't feeling good, if we're not coming from a place of growth and the person that we're becoming along the way as we're striving to our goals, then why are we doing what we're doing? That is the question. Why are we doing what we're doing? So it needs to feel good. It needs to resonate, and it needs to, just as you're saying, be authentically you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So coming back to this idea of dreaming big, we can have this big goal, and we've discussed that when you have that big goal, the thing to do is just take a tiny step, and you know it's going to go in the right direction, even if you don't know exactly what that path is going to be or
Mhm.
turn out like. But how can people dream big in the first place?
Mm,
Thing that I've seen people, particularly those who've worked in the corporate environment and they've had smart goals, we've been taught over time to think small, think, well, what can you absolutely definitely do and therefore get your bonus? And so we've kind of lost the skill of dreaming big and daring to admit to ourselves that's our dream, let alone sort of say it out loud to the public. Hey, this is what I'm aiming for. I don't know if I'll get there, but this is my big vision.
yeah. So, okay, that's a great question. And I think I have three questions that I love to chat about with people. So I really encourage people to, jot these down and spend some time contemplating on them, or, have a conversation with a trusted friend about them and do a little diving in and a little digging into it. But my first question is, so what would you do if you were bold? Right? What would that let I know. What would you do if you were bold? So is it reaching out, for example, for that collaboration with somebody who maybe you feel is next level from you, that you think, why would they possibly ever want to do something and collaborate with me? Okay, so maybe that's something that you would be doing if you were bold. Maybe it's launching that second arm of your business that you've felt that niggling, and that, oh, this is something that's really curious and something that's really interesting, but you just haven't felt like you've been ready to take the jump. Or maybe it's committing to and hosting that retreat that is somewhere off, somewhere tropical, that you're like, oh, I love that, and it's something that I want to bring to my community, but I'm just not quite ready yet, or haven't been there yet. So what would you do if you were bold? My second question is, what would you do if you knew for sure that you would succeed at it? So spend some time percolating on that. Maybe it's going and doing that TEDx talk. That, congratulations, Melitta, you're journeying into it. So very, very exciting. Maybe it's writing that book that you've had inside of you forever, and you keep thinking to yourself, well, I have expertise in that area and I know exactly what I would say, but I just don't feel like I'm a good writer. There's so many different things. What would you do if you knew for sure you would succeed at it?
My old boss, that was his favorite question. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And he would get people to do what they really felt and take those bigger risks, because he was like, it doesn't matter if we fail. That's where the learning is anyway, and we'll learn together. But by
Yes.
working together, we're less likely to fail anyway. Let's brainstorm. Why won't this work? What will go wrong? And how can we like plan ahead for that and make sure that doesn't happen? Or we're smart people. Why should this be the reality? So yeah, I love that question.
Yeah. And the third question, which is my favorite question by far, if you were the main character in a movie of your life, which by the way, we all are, but if you were the main character in a movie of your life, what would the audience be screaming at you to do right now? I know. And I have asked this question multiple different occasions within our community and in different coaching calls that I've had and such. And I'm going to tell you, people always know. And the answer comes very quickly to them as well. People always know what that answer is. And so there's gold in there for you. There's stuff that you need to dig into when you know that answer. And I know that folks listening, that they're going to know their answer too. So
Yeah.
there is that opportunity to dream big with those questions. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we probably know because we're probably already shouting it to ourselves in our minds. And when you mentioned that, it's like, yeah, I'd be telling myself this, you know.
Yeah.
But it's because I'm already doing that on one level. We've got one level where we're kind of like, the almost the devil and the angel. One saying, no, don't do that. It might fail. And the other one going, yeah, why would it? Go for it. But I love that way of phrasing that question. It's brilliant.
Yes, there's gold in all those answers. So, I always encourage people, capture them all down. Don't leave one thing on the table, and then dive in.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would love it if you could inspire us. You talked about how you struggled to find your it. You went to the library, which made me smile because I was talking to my kid the other day about going to the library and how we used to do research and get books, and you'd have a whole table full of books open. She's like, really? Can we do that one day? I was like, yes, just go to the library. But yeah, and you really dived in and researched, but got a bit stuck in all of that research until you kind of took that step back and had someone help you reflect back to you. But what has happened when you've taken that role for your clients? Can you inspire us with some of the things that maybe they thought they couldn't do, but then went ahead and did, and are now living this amazing life, or just feeling that little bit bolder and more excited by their life?
Well, I think that once we start heading down a path and we start realizing that I can do it and that we're in a group of people who are like-minded, and we take a step back and we see, my gosh, they're people just like me. They are people literally just like me, and look at all they're creating and doing. I can do this as well. And we start to give ourselves permission that I can create anything that it is that I actually do want to create in this world. And isn't that amazing? I've had women who join our community at all different places and spaces along the way. Some women know exactly what they want to do when they're coming in. And one woman, Tennille is her name, when she joined our group, her and her daughter were writing a memoir. And she knew that I want to come into the group, and my focus on the memoir is going to be about us completing our book. This was the first book that they had ever written. It was about completing the book. It was about launching the book. It was about marketing the book, and so on and so forth. And then when we moved into our define phase, our phase one of the process that we journey along together, then all of a sudden she was saying, you know what? The book is going to be continuing. This is extremely important. We have a lot to share in our journey together, but I actually want to start a podcast, and it's going to be called the Friend Lab. And that's what I'm going to be doing. So we have women who start and journey along in that way, where they're actually surprised when they're digging in at what they find. Then we have women like Jaylyn. She is another woman who joined our community, and she also was answering what I had referred to as that nudge. She knew that there was something that was there for her. She had been teaching for over 25 years, mother of two, a very full life, but she said, I don't know what it is. And she had journeyed along a separation and a divorce that wasn't so great in her life. And none of us come out of life unscathed. And through her journey, she identified that, I actually want to be in support of women who are newly separated or newly divorced. And when I was journeying along this very, very challenging time in my life, I didn't have the support that I wished I had had. And so throughout of this challenge, she was able to identify, I actually want to create the space and the place for women to be able to come together and feel that journey and feel that support that I didn't have. And I liken Jaylyn's journey to kintsugi. It is a Japanese art where craftspeople, they take pottery that has been damaged in some way. It's been broken, it's been chipped, there's been a journey for this pottery. And instead of discarding the pottery, instead of hiding the pottery's imperfections, they actually repair the pottery with this gold, and they create the next evolution of this beautiful piece of pottery and actually highlight the imperfections. They highlight the challenges of the journey. And that's what I like in Jaylyn's journey too, is the kintsugi. She is taking her life's challenges and actually creating art in terms of service to women who are journeying along in their, for some of them, most challenging parts of their life. So it's been amazing to watch Jaylyn along her journey. And she was then through that able to host her very first retreat as a new and highly acclaimed solopreneur, and to rave reviews. And she, just like we had talked about, is continuing her teaching career at the same time. So she's creating this beautiful piece of art, answering her nudge alongside continuing her original professional career at the same time. And it's been amazing to be witness to. It really, really is.
I love those examples, and also that you highlighted that we don't need to wait. we may have these other things going on, but we can still live into our purpose, even if it's just a small way right now that we'll grow into. And also with the first story, that you take that first step, well, this is what we want to be doing. But
Mhm.
in deep diving into that, you discover other branches of that, new things that you're excited about. If you told me 5 years ago I'd be running this podcast and I would have had it going for 4 years, I'm like, nah, get out of here. As listeners of the podcast will know very well, I'm the shy girl. I don't do things like that. I don't do bold things like start a podcast and invite people to come and speak to me. But it's been amazing. And from those conversations, it's helped me crystallize this value whispering concept, and everything's taking more form the whole time. You're always understanding more about yourself as you continue along this journey. I think, like with a business, where you start is never where you end up. And it's when we dare to take that next step that we start to discover just really what we were meant for, really
Yeah.
what lights us up. Have you had anyone that thought, yeah, this is really what I want to do, and then they've done it and thought, no, that's not it. I hate that.
Yes, of course. And that's part of our journey as well, is thinking, okay, I'm going to try this. And then when I try it, and if it doesn't feel like a fit at that time going forward, that's okay. And we don't ever want people to feel like choosing a goal is a life sentence, because it's not. As we are continuing down our evolution, then we're figuring more things out along the way. And just like you were sharing, Melita, our paths continue to be illuminated along the way, and things start to evolve and grow and present themselves that we didn't even know were there. So, of course, your goal is not a life sentence. If it's no longer serving you, it's okay. It's okay to stop whatever it is and to do as GPSs say, recalculating, and then shift gears in another direction. That is completely fine. And it's interesting too that you had brought that up with Tennille when she had joined our 8-week mastermind group and identified that she wanted to create this podcast. Also, what was going on in the background with Tennille, and part of her impetus for joining our group and continuing to move forward in that way. And in the background, but I would say more importantly in the foreground, was that Tennille had a stage 4 endometrial cancer diagnosis. And her memoir that her and her daughter were writing, and I do want to share this. They have actually completed their memoir. It is called Unremarkable: How Cancer and Depression Intertwined Our Stories of Grief and Hope. And it's a very unique mother-daughter journey and memoir. And as Tennille was wrapping our 8-week journey together, they were continuing with the creation of their memoir, but she was also obviously continuing with treatments and her whole healthcare journey. And what she identified at that time was that she was needing to put her podcast on pause so that she could spend the time focusing on her health, as well as spend the time focusing on her family, as well as bringing their memoir to fruition. And she continued then in our monthly mastermind group with the realignment of her WAG that we call our wild ass goals. That's that big juicy goal that we have in front of us. She needed to do a realignment. And that was okay. And that was exactly what she was needing to do in that moment. And part of our community and our journey together is creating our real life plan. We all have real lives. All of us. We have different family things that are going on, other responsibilities we have in our lives, often other additional careers, and so on and so forth. And creating a real life plan is something that's extremely important. As we're journeying towards our goal, it's not about driving us into the ground. It's not about, taking that last stitch of life out of us as we're trying to get to that thing. No, it's about creating something that works in our lives for us as we're continuing to grow and evolve and to do life at exactly the same time. And I'm so thrilled that with Tennille and her daughter Lydia's journey, that their book is complete. The formal launch is September 10th on Amazon. You can find it there. They have found themselves in a flurry of media. They have just received a 5-star reader's favorite book review, which is amazing. They have a sold out book launch. And a portion of their proceeds from the book, they are dedicating back to Lydia's former high school arts program, to local youth mental health programs, as well as to our cancer agency here in Saskatchewan in Canada, where they're situated. And in their 5 days, I just have to say this because I feel like a proud parent always with all these things. Everyone's successes are, I feel like, are my successes. In their 5 days to their initial pre-orders on Amazon, it's taken them already to the #3 spot for teen and young adult nonfiction on depression. It's amazing, and I know that this is going to be such a beautiful and explosive book that's being released into the world. So I'm so very thrilled with everything that Neil and her daughter Lydia have created. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We've talked about daring to dream big and the questions to ask, which I love those questions. What happens when we set a goal and we don't achieve it? Have you got any advice on what to do then and how to not go into this depression or beating yourself up and saying, oh, I knew I couldn't do this, that kind of space, which isn't going to help us move forward? Any advice there?
Sure. That's a great question because I'm going to tell you, it goes back up to all those rules. What are the rules that we're setting up around our goals when we're wanting to accomplish something by, this specific date, and it needs to look exactly like this, and I'm not going to be settling for anything less than that. And when we set up these rules, and we all do it. So yes, please everybody know that we all do it in different ways. What ends up happening, and I've heard it referred to, and I really like this reference, is that we end up what's called gripping onto our goal instead of touching lightly onto our goal. So it's almost like we're hanging on so tight, and we need to have things, be a certain way by a certain time just because we need it to be that way. And what we actually end up doing is we end up pushing our goal away as opposed to opening up and inviting and accepting and bringing it into us. So my advice to people is that we need to remain open. We need to be prepared to be surprised in the way that things may show up when it's not exactly the way that we were perhaps hoping. And we need to be in a space of allowing and be open to receiving and knowing, which can feel hard at times, that things might not show up in our timeline, and that's okay. There's a quote that I love, and I say it all the time, by Tony Robbins, and he says, the moment that we realize that life is not happening to us, but for us, everything changes. So as we're moving forward to our wild ass goals, those WAGs, those juicy, beautiful things that we're stepping towards, that the timing, that we are closing in and receiving all of the pieces that are coming our way, they're intended to be that way for whatever reason, whether there's growth that needs to happen, whether there's something better that's in front of us that we need to be doing first, that actually will fulfill and serve us on our way to our WAG. Just remain open. And I know that there can be frustration at times. 100%, I found myself there before. And if we remain in that mindset that it's coming, I know it is. There's something I'm supposed to be learning here. There's something that I'm supposed to be doing along the way. And don't take the foot off the gas pedal. It's not that I'm not going to be able to get there. It might look a little bit different along the way, but keep going, keep recalculating, keep moving forward with that momentum.
Yeah, great advice again. And I love that idea of gripping versus touching lightly, because I know earlier in my business journey, I was definitely gripping onto the goals. And if they didn't happen, then I was really chastising myself over that. Oh, see, I'm not good enough. I need to do something differently. I need to get another certification or just quit, But now I'm much lighter with those goals. It's like, okay, well, that's interesting. That didn't happen. And just reflect, well, why was that? And sometimes I discover it just wasn't the right goal, or the timing wasn't right, or something else came up that was more important. And actually, it was really good that, well done you on letting go of that goal to make space for this one, and
Yes.
not trying to do everything and burn out. And it feels like I'm in a very different space these days, which is great.
Yes.
Michelle, thank you so much for everything you shared. It's just been such an insightful conversation. And I know anyone sitting there making notes has been burning up the paper, writing everything down. Is there anything you feel that we've missed that people need to know about pursuing their purpose and those big goals? Is there anything additional that you think, yeah, if they knew this, that's going to really be a game changer for them?
Sure. So the pieces that come to mind as we look towards this back end of 2024, what I encourage you to do is just spend some time. What do you want this last part of 2024 to look like as you're moving towards your goal? When you are up on January 1st and you're cleaning up from your New Year's Eve party the evening before, or you're cooking your New Year's Day brunch, or you're getting ready to go out for your run, or you're sitting down to do your morning meditation, whatever that looks like for you, when you're reflecting back on this last part of the year, what do you want to be looking back at and saying, wow, that was really good. I did that. I didn't leave one thing on the table for this back end of 2024. And I encourage you, what does that look like to you? Get into that space of January 1 and looking back, and it will help guide you in that space and really bring this last part of 2024 home with a punch. And the other piece that I want to share as well that just comes to mind is listen to your intuition. Lean into it. It is there as a guiding light for us along our way. Listen to your nudges. Listen to those little whispers that we hear, whether it's, something that our heart is telling us, or those little messages that pop into our head at different times saying, ooh, you should call so and so, or you should send that email. Listen to those things because they are a guiding light along the way for you as you're heading towards your goal and accomplishing your dreams. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing advice to end on. Thank you so much, Michelle. And if anyone is thinking, intuition, where do I find my intuition? Go back and listen to the episode with Karen Skidmore. I think it's about 3 or 4 podcast episodes ago. And we dived into that because that's something that comes up a lot in the show when people say, when I leaned into my intuition, really started to trust my gut feeling, good things started to happen. And then that begs the big question, well, how do we do that? So we explored that with Karen. So go and check that episode out next. But Michelle, thank you. If anyone has really resonated with what you've said and they want to come and check you out and connect with you, where's the best place for them to find you?
Yes. So you can come over to my website, www.michellemurphylifeonpurpose.com. You can always just reach out to me and drop me an email at hello@michellemurphylifeonpurpose.com, or you can find me on Instagram, that place that I was talking about, showing up authentically. Yes, it's at @MichelleMurphy_life-on-purpose. So I'd love to connect with you all. And it's truly, Melitta, it's been an honor and a privilege being here with you today and having this conversation. It's amazing. This is the stuff that fills my cup and fills my heart. So I love, love, love all of this. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I'll put all those links underneath for anyone who wants to click straight through. And can we reveal to people that this is actually your first ever podcast interview? And
Yes.
It didn't come across that way at all. So if anyone else is thinking, oh, I would love my big juicy goal to be appearing on podcast interviews, but I'm scared, you've done a brilliant job. So thanks for saying yes.
Thanks for inviting me. It's been wonderful.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you have found this episode valuable and are all ready to dream big and ask some of those amazing questions. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you do if you were bold? What would you be shouting at yourself if you were? I love that question so much. What would you be shouting at yourself right now if you're watching the movie of your life? I think that's just brilliant. So do come and join the Dream Clients Club and join the discussion about the show today and what you've taken away, what your dreams are going to be, what's standing in your way, what would you do if you were bold? Come and share all in Dream Clients Club. You'll find us at melittacampbell.com/club. And again, that's completely free to join that community. And we have the replays of the Magnetic Message Challenge we've been running this week. That's all there ready for you. And the live weekly masterclasses, the value sessions, We'll be starting again next week, so I hope you will come and join us. And if you have enjoyed the show today, I would love it if you could share the show with someone else in your network who deserves to dream big, to be bold, and start feeling proud of their impact and feeling more meaningful and purposeful every day, which of course brings with it lots of happiness and joy and further inspiration as well. This is how we grow, isn't it? We just start attracting more excitement into our lives. And if you do love the show, if you could spend a moment to give us a review on iTunes or Spotify, that really helps the show to be found by more female entrepreneurs who can be benefiting from the knowledge. So I thank you in advance for taking a moment to do that. I will be back next week with a wonderful interview with Andrea, who has created Model, a platform to inspire girls to become the next generation of female leaders in all parts of industry. So I am really looking forward to sharing her insights with you. I look forward to seeing you then. I'm Melitta Campbell, your business coach and value whisperer, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye.